keyboardist there,
Okay.
who kind of plays along, and she is related to whomever was one of the, or maybe she did it, but she was like the keyboardist for Saturday Night Live or something like that. So it's a really interesting place, and I heard stories that in that room, like all around the Comedy Store back in the day, just people were snorting lines of coke and this and that.
Of course.
And I observed something, but I don't know if it really happened. Then I asked somebody about it, and they were very much clearly like, that wasn't happening. I said, all right, I'll back off from this. But
You didn't see it.
You didn't see the thing that you saw. And then Paulie was there, and then this other keyboardist came in, and Paulie's asked, he's like, hey, can I have my friend play a little bit? And he was, I don't know, he looked like a rocker. He had a lot of history. I don't know who he was. He clearly is known by people. And then so we switched out, and then Paulie walked by me, and I said, hey, that person was really good. Paulie put his hand on my shoulder, and he was like, thanks. He's like, they were really awesome. And you start meeting people like that. It was so nice. And I didn't realize at the Comedy Store that just comedian, like if you're a comedian, you go up to the front and you say, I'm a starting comedian, and they just let you in.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the most well-known rooms in the country.
Yeah, it was exciting.
I mean, the best comedians in LA go there to do spots and work on their material, or some of them even have specials there. Yeah.
It was something else. So Cliff Barnes has a friend named Yoshi Obayashi, and he said to me before I left down there, I asked him, was there anybody you know? And he's like, well, I know this Yoshi. You can probably get in touch with him. Just tell him you know me. Then Yoshi calls me, and he says, she starts going on. He's like, yeah, what is it that you're interested in doing? I said, I don't know. I just want to, figure out comedy, and I don't know, just kind of help grow the Seattle scene a little bit. So he says, oh, you should reach out to this guy, Earl Skakel, and this other woman, Jessie Wellington. And Earl is, he one of the closing acts usually. He likes to be the closer there at the Comedy Store. And Earl, if you've ever seen the movie Benchwarmers, it's the movie with like all those Adam Sandler, whatever guys, all those that crowd.
The Happy Madison crowd.
Yeah, and so there's a scene with Earl, and he's the guy. He's just a scene where he's puking after a bathroom, like in a stall. And I looked up, it's a funny scene, and then he says, go up to the door and tell them you know me. And then I go to the door, I tell them, and he's like, oh, you're one of Earl's boys. And I said, sure, I'm one of Earl's boys. And then I go in, and I didn't realize it was the 50th anniversary of the Comedy Store. So I go in, I sit in the back of the main room, and then this woman goes up, it's very funny, and then she says, okay, coming to the stage is Mark Maron.
Nice.
And I was watching him, I was like, what is going on here? And then Mark Maron finishes, and he said, all right, coming up next, Anthony Jeselnik. And I was like, what?
Jeselnik was there, man.
And then Neil Brennan came up.
Oh shit, dude. So that's just a night.
It was just, and I got to see them for free. And then Mark Maron goes by me. I may have mentioned this before. He walks by me, and I'm looking at him, and he kind of looks at me, and he's like, do I know you? And I said, no, I'm Dino Dad. And he goes, who? And I said, I'm Noah. I'm a comedian from Seattle. And he's like, shakes my hand. He says, nice to meet you. And he walks off. I said, that just fucking happened. And then at the open mics, you don't even realize it, that some of the top comedians in Los Angeles show up to them. This guy named what's his name? Kyle Irby. I went to this open mic where nobody was there. And he just kind of did his thing. And then I was leaving and I was talking to him and telling him what was going on. He's just talking about marriage and stuff. And he's like, I'm going to Taco Bell. You want some food? And he brought me there. And then he's talking to me, and I said, I'm going to the Comedy Store. And he's like, to perform? He's like, yeah. I said, where? On the main stage. He's like, what? I said, so you're... He's like, yeah, I'm
yes, that's a big deal there, yeah. To be like I don't know what the term is, a past comic at the Comedy Store, like a regular.
And then I go there, and, I'm just hanging out. And then I see Mark Maron go by. And I say, hey, Mark, do you remember me from last night? You shook my hand. He goes, yeah. And I didn't know what to say.
You didn't plan that far ahead into the conversation.
No. So I said, you have really soft hands. And he says, what? And I said, I don't know. I don't know what to say. And Jessie Wellington, the other comedian that I was supposed to be introduced to, I met her there, and she's like, just own it, Noah. And I said, "You have soft hands." And then he walked off. He's like, "Ugh." And Jesse says to me, "Well, you definitely he's not gonna forget you."
All right, you're the soft hands guy.
And so I troll him now on Instagram. I put in some stories every now and again, like I talk about him like having soft hands.
Oh Jesus!
And then he's like, you can see on your stories that people check it out, and he's like,
Mark Maron looked at your soft hands story.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I try to get his attention every now and again, but I always send him like feedback because I know he talks about who he is, and I talked about like marriage and divorce. I'll send him messages.
No, I love his podcast.
He's amazing. He's been through a lot, and
yes,
it's just neat. Some professional comedians, and Derek Sheen knows Patton Oswalt.
Really?
He just opened for him,
God.
And so I wrote like a long fucking time ago when I first started doing the open mic, and I knew Patton was coming into town. I messaged him, and I said, "Hey, I mean, I don't expect anything, but would you ever want to stop by the open mic at the Water Wheel?" He wrote me back and said, "I appreciate it, but I politely declined." And then I said,
"That's actually kind of nice."
Yeah, and I said, "Your rejection is an honor." And I've written him a few more times. I talked to him. I don't know. I just send him messages. I don't know why, but he knows Derek. And
so he's done his. I know he did a special at the Moore Theater a while back. Patton Oswalt. And it's one of his best specials. But
and he did one in December where Derek opened for him, and Derek just opened for him in like Spokane and stuff.
Probably, I haven't been doing this a long time. Probably the biggest drop-in I've seen is like a couple weeks ago at Club Comedy. Andy Haynes dropped in.
Oh, cool.
And that. It's like the first time I've like seen a comic that I watched on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that he's from Seattle. He started in the Seattle scene, I think.
Yeah.
So that goes to show you that people do make it. I mean, way back, Mitch Hedberg was here for a while.
Of course,
I think.
he was.
Yeah.
He was very much like the '90s kind of guy. He was reminiscent of that.
But yeah, I would love it if Seattle could cultivate, and back to your point of like connecting. I mean, I will say that, like, I've kind of maybe relatively quickly gotten friendly with a few people who are, running shows and mics around here. But, you have to kind of push it yourself. And that's kind of what you're doing, right? You're reaching out to these people, and I think there's real value in that.
I think that most of it's about being... like trying to be a decent person and not trying to get something out of somebody else, and trying your best to make that clear, because these bigger gangs know that, but I also think some of them know what it's like to start out. And you just kind of let them know. And I always end my messages whether either way is a good way. I say either way, whether you are interested or not, I appreciate watching you. You're inspiring, and those things that I like your comedy. And sometimes they respond, sometimes they don't, or sometimes they like a little message.
So you just reach out on Instagram? Or?
I do. I mean, I some people have said you overdo it. I probably do a little bit. I mean, I send some long messages sometimes.
I mean, you gotta put yourself out there. I know if it's something you really want to do, then you gotta be the guy. You know, sometimes you gotta be that guy. Sometimes you gotta, just reach out. That's awesome, though, dude. I'm glad you're doing that.
Well, it's important to me because comedy is and I'm a therapist, so people's like, we know you're a therapist. I was like, because you always say it.
Well, I didn't know that until I read your Facebook post the other day.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that about you, that's what your occupation has been, and I can see it. I can see it's like you're intentionally very warm. That's how I would describe it. You go out of your way to do it. And I think that's rare anywhere. And here, I really value sincerity. And that's...
Thank you.
It's something that, again, I don't know if it's in the case in other places, but anything where it's competitive, it can be hard to come by sometimes. I don't really think about it anymore, but yeah, it's really appreciated.
Yeah, well, thank you. So I thank you. That was very nice of you. So we'll kind of wrap up here, but I do want to ask you about some of your embarrassing
Sure,
stories.
sure, yeah.
I like how you said embarrassing story candidates.
There are multiple candidates.
Yeah. Where should we start? We'll build up to it.
Sure.
Getting lost in the woods last year.
So
what happened there?
I took a trip down the Oregon coast by myself. Like I was gonna quit my job at Amazon, so I burned all my PTO and took a trip down the coast around the northern tip of California and back up. And I ended my trip in Cannon Beach area. And I went to a park, like a national park or state park, I don't remember, but I just started walking and I just kept going, and the trails were washed out, and I just ended up completely off trail, like just scattered wood and logs everywhere. It was getting darker, and I started running because I was a runner, and like I still have that in me when I need it.
Berlin, run!
Exactly. And so I was trying to get to the other side of wherever I was, and it just got dark too fast. And like the coast of Oregon was off on one side, and it was just logs on the other side. So I tried to use my GPS, and that brought my phone from like 50% to 5.
Yes.
And so, because I was in the middle of nowhere, and I called the police. I'm like, I'm swallowing my pride, and they pinged my coordinates. It took them like 3 hours to find me, but eventually they did. So I was just like, all right, I may have to. I had no equipment. I had no blanket or anything. I just had like jeans and a raincoat.
Yeah.
I may have to like just be cold for the night and like try to stay awake. I was doing like push-ups and squats in just like complete darkness next to
squats?
Giant trees and
Just
like
to
fallen
stay awake,
trees.
just to kind of keep the blood flowing.
Keep the blood flowing. They eventually got me, and like I don't know. I've never like had to rely on the police, and there were 3 of them. So I was like extremely compliant and cordial. But yeah, they got me out of there.
You're just doing push-ups in front of them.
So I guess that's embarrassing because I just had no idea what I was doing. Like just the arrogance of thinking I could just walk in the middle of this place without any plan or equipment. And I just got in my rented car and slept in the parking lot for the forest for the night. That was an L.
Yeah.
That was an L.
It's like Berlin, that show Man vs. Wild.
It was Berlin versus Wild, and Wild pretty much won.
But it was actually real because Man vs. Wild, like they showed him once, which was like he was supposedly out in the wild, and then there was a video release where off on the side there was a highway and cars were going by.
I mean, that's probably true for me as well. I just couldn't find the highway.
Well, that was a real deal. Real deal. I once was in Berkeley. I didn't quite have that experience, but I was in Berkeley and I kind of didn't know where I was going. And before I even cell phone GPS stuff, I don't even know if I had one. And I started walking down this road. I was like, I don't know, like, where's Berkeley at? And this guy walks by and he's talking to me and he's like, do you know where you're going? And I said, well, I'm trying to head back to Berkeley. He said, you're walking towards Oakland, and you're not in like. You're gonna stick out here, so I suggest you turn around. He's like, it's way that way.
Okay.
And
rare that someone's that honest and helpful.
Yeah, no, he was kind, and he was. I mean, they're Northern California people, so they're especially outside San Francisco and Berkeley. They're just very friendly and help you there. But yeah, I didn't quite get lost or have to call the police, but I recognize that. And I wasn't going in the woods, but I was probably headed to an area that I don't know what I would have expected.
If I was completely lost, and it was like 35 degrees, so I would have been a dancicle if I had stuck out there. I mean,
yeah. And then I want to hear about this one, and then we can wrap it up.
Sure.
I'm going to skip past getting hit by a car on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, that could happen to anyone.
Well, it sucks though. I'll read this one.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna quote it. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
My balls slipping through my pants while rock climbing in the 8th grade.
So there was this rock climbing wall that it was brand new, and And I don't know why I tried it. I'd never been climbing. I wasn't a strong kid.
Uh-huh.
And so I did it. I put the harness on. And mind you, I was in like a gym t-shirt and like those like almost see-through mesh shorts that they give you in middle school.
Yeah.
And I had the harness on. You shouldn't have a harness wearing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because it just pops everything out.
Yeah.
And so I get up to like the third rung out of like 20, get lowered back down, and I'm just like at the mercy of gravity.
Yeah.
And I'm getting lowered. And I guess it just slips out. I didn't see it. And now what I never confirmed with anybody really, like there were different stories. But
the legend of Dan's balls.
Some were saying that it was just like really visible through the shorts. Some said that it came out, like all of it. And
Like all of it?
and there was
just one.
Everybody was watching, like the whole grade. I don't know. It was like my class was there, but also another class. Like maybe they got out somewhere early, and it was just like everyone I knew, like all the girls I liked. It was terrible, but like. I made fun of it. I did like a thrust. Like I was just like, this is happening, and I need to own this somehow. And so, that's just kind of like part and parcel of how I try to own situations and and try to make it funny if I can't make it cool.
Well, if your last name was Ballin, somebody would have said Dan Ballin, more like Dan Ball Out.
That's like the Japanese way to pronounce it because they don't have R's in there.
Same in Korean. They have a letter that's kind of like a mix between L.
Right.
All right. I know you mentioned here the stuff that the things that are happening, and I'll do my best to release this. At least it'll be audio. But what are some things that are coming up that you would be interested in plugging?
Yeah. So. I have my first club audition this week. It's at Club Comedy.
They actually have auditions there?
They have auditions. They call it Pro Night Audition.
Oh, cool.
And it's an audition to get in front of the bookers at Club Comedy.
Oh, cool.
And so that's something that I'm excited about. A little bit nervous, but
how many minutes you get?
I think it's 10.
Oh, you get 10 minutes?
I think it's 10.
Holy
that's
shit.
what I've been told.
That's interesting.
So that's I've had to try to cultivate my tight 10, if that's what it's called. But that's why I've been trying new stuff.
Try it out.
Yep. So that's on Thursday, June 16th at Club Comedy, 8 p.m.
Wow.
And then I have my first book show. I'll say it's my first book show. I've been on like competitions before. But this is my first book show. It's at Big Time.
Yeah.
No, not Big Time. Not Big Time. U-Brew, the station U-Brew at Puyallup.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So that'll be on Friday the 17th.
How are you getting there?
That's a good question. Yeah, like I think I'm going to have to take a bus there, like 3 of them, and then like just make that the day. And I don't know how I'm getting. Like I'll probably try to get a ride back.
That's a
from
Friday,
someone.
right? Yeah, it's a Friday.
I'll try to get a ride back from someone. I'll throw you 10 for gas or 15 or 20.
Yeah.
However I need to get back because a lot of those people kind of hang they live in the southern Seattle area, so it's a bit out of their way to get me back. So.
Well, once I get my car, which hopefully is in the next few weeks, I am always willing to
That's great, man. Everybody has been super helpful in that regard.
I've met some very helpful people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add? Anything funny you want to say? Anything, just, to wind this thing down?
Well, I'm glad you hit me up, and this is great. I love media. I love podcasts. Something funny. Well, I didn't sleep last night. This coffee was really helpful. I think I navigated the waters. You have a funny hat on right now. It's very classy.
You have one that I thought had an autograph on it.
No, it's
Live Lucky or Live Lucky.
I don't know, man. This is like a $10 ball cap.
And it's
Live Lucky.
It's like an Irish
Yeah, it's like four-leaf clover.
My Irish, like maybe American flag.
I don't know what. I think I got this from my uncle. I don't know. It could have possibly racist overtones with the.
It's like yeah. I mean.
With the what's the word? Defacing of the American flag. Like I don't. It's something. There's something there.
I mean, maybe.
Like this could be like the like a subset of like an Irish brotherhood kind of thing. I don't know. I don't endorse it.
All right, well, you might get picked on. I'll finish with one story. Speaking of Ireland, when I lived in Chicago,
right, of course,
I had a lot of Irish friends.
Right.
And one of my Irish friends took me to a very Irish party.
Right.
And I don't know why I did this, but he said it would be fine. And I went in there and I put on my best Irish accent. I changed my name to Noel McCarthy Goldberg. And I was talking to people. There were some people who were not Irish there. And I was like, oh, you know, like I'm one of the few Jewish Irish people out there. You know, I call myself Jirish. And then I kept it up while talking to Irish people. And they said, you're not fucking Irish. You need to shut the fuck up. And I said, yeah, I don't know why I could tell you this. And I went out and I said, Paul. His name was Paul. He said, well, like they were not thrilled. He's like, oh, I knew they wouldn't be thrilled by it at all. he's like, but you know, that's okay. He's like, they're all getting drunk anyway. That's my Irish story, and that's the end of the podcast. I'm gonna try to get this thing out there. So, we're gonna hug it out. We're gonna do this.
Do a good one.
Oh.
Yeah, get in there.
Oh, we're gonna get it tight. Oh man, and you're a nice sweater too.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, that's it. Dino Dad chat out. And now we hit the record button.